I think for me now, the big question is why GGC? Because that's a long time to spend in a company that you clearly enjoyed. You have a lot of good things to say about. You smiled all the way through your Savile story just there. So I'm personally very intrigued to see why.
Yeah. So I mean, when you think of it as a kind of my personal growth, at Savile's, I was quite comfortable, to be honest. I knew the business inside out. I knew what I needed to do. And it just felt, personally, the time was right. I've got 2 young kids, but they're in school now, so life generally is a little bit easier. And I've already worked with a number of the team at GGC as a planning consultant on one of their projects. So I kind of knew the business. I knew its ambition and what it was trying to achieve, at least. So it all kind of clicked into place and felt right. And I know that sounds like a bit of a cliche, but it was something. It's going to be a challenge, right? There's no doubt about it. Consenting these networks in Wales at the minute is not going to be easy.
No.
And there was something that kind of drew me back to rural mid Wales as well. I mean, that's where I'm from. And the opportunity to really be part of that, which is going to bring economic growth to parts of mid Wales and to Wales as a whole, but also deliver the networks that we need to realise the kind of net zero agendas and deliver renewable energy. I just wanted to be part of it, basically. And as a consultant, you give your advice and you have a role in a little kind of siloed bit of the development process. But you don't have that agency to actually be part of that change and make the decisions. And I think that's what kind of drew me to the role. And it's my next step in my own kind of personal growth, because it's, not only is it's in that industry, and there's still lots for me to learn in that, but as a professional, as a planning professional, but also the opportunity to be part of a leadership team growing what is essentially kind of a startup, It's totally different context and beast to what Savile's was in terms of how corporate that was, for loads of good reasons in that as well. But that opportunity for me personally to kind of grow as a professional, I couldn't really turn down in the end.
How did you find GGC?
So for me, it was the IDNO really excited me. So obviously I'd worked in big TO company and Ofto, so I kind of knew what the work was going to be, but I loved the idea of the independence, the fact that we were going to be challenging the existing incumbents, the fact that we were going to be building something that was actually not there. There is a hole in the grid in Wales. Whereas if you're looking about Scotland and England, you're replacing. But this was literally creating, which for me was massive. Personally, I'd like to leave some of my expertise here, and be able to bring in grads who are actually Welsh and be able to see them come through the company. That would be, I think, an amazing win for me. So it was really about the IDNO piece and, being that challenger. It was about the fact we were going to be a small team, and I'd worked in a couple of small teams before, so I knew how much it can feel like family. You're all working towards the same goal. Sometimes you need to work a little bit harder because it's a smaller team, but everybody's really invested. Some of the people that were coming to Green Gen I knew through industry because I'd worked before, so I also saw that experience in the team that basically said to me, we can do this, we can grow this team and actually take this forward and become, a real challenger to the existing networks and really leave something extremely positive in Wales. So it seemed such an exciting challenge. The team is amazing. We work with such an amazing team who, when that challenge is put in front of them, we all kind of come together and just go at it.
Yeah. We
turn things around quite quick. We are pushing innovation in a number of areas across the business. Would I have got to do that if I'd remained with maybe one of the larger networks? Probably not.
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't have got to do the breadth of what we're doing here. You know, we're forming a new exec at the moment, which is really exciting as well. So, you know, at Green Jane, it just doesn't stop.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we move from kind of one challenge, one possibility to the next. So it keeps you on your toes, it keeps you learning. So it's from that point of view, it's fantastic.
We'll close off on the same question for both of you. And you can answer it as honest or as professional as you want, because there could be some emotion attached to this question. But in terms of adversity, coming through as a leader, being a female, is there anything that really sticks with you as something that should never have happened in that moment because you were a leader trying to come through as a lady? Or is it been pretty clean?
There really isn't anything that stands out. You know, there's lots of good and getting better practice and policy embedded in businesses now that stop a lot of that happening.
Yeah.
And key to that continuing not to happen, and for businesses to really meaningfully be as kind of diverse and inclusive as they should be, then, you know, continuing that training, that ongoing learning around things around unconscious bias, and you know, really equipping line managers to help women, especially when you return from maternity leave, for example.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that maybe, especially when I returned from my first, could have been better. But I don't think my managers were really properly equipped for it. And now, but I think now they probably are, because there's a support in place.
So that's a process more than the people, I suppose.
It's probably a bit of both. Okay. It's a bit of both, because every situation is different. You know, you know, a lot of what we're doing, we're kind of people business, aren't we? And what is clear to me is the value that GGC put into people, in terms of getting the right people, look after them and retaining them. And those policies create that structure, but it's really the leaders and the line managers that deliver that structure and that strategy to make people feel like they are included, they are involved and empowered. And I suppose for me, the not necessarily that I had a bad experience, but where I think there could be improvements, and it's something that I'll continue to kind of drive and make sure is as best we can make it, is around maternity leave, return from maternity leave, but also encouraging men to take shared parental leave, because that is part of not the solution, but how we can make improvements. It's not just about the women, it's about the men when it comes to family and dependent care. So yeah, nothing really bad, but it's just, you know, where there's lessons that I think still can and will be learned.
Amazing.
I think for me, I would say probably I've been lucky with mentoring. I have been really lucky, but I think given the split at the moment in the industry, particularly in the engineering sector of the industry, I think probably a lot of the focus is probably still not even.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel there's probably a bit of work still to do there, and to say, like, everybody should have these opportunities. Yeah. Certainly I felt at parts in my career that I was probably passed over because I wasn't the right gender, and it was just where the industry was. Mm-hmm. I agree, I think it's much better. I think we've still got a way to go. Yeah. But for me, one of the reasons I'm so passionate about mentoring and being able to support somebody's career, whether it's coming into engineering, whether it's coming into procurement contracts or health and safety, you know, is being able to support that conversation, support, you know, maybe the process, to get that person into the kind of role that they've really wanted to go to. But I think that's important. Mm-hmm. And I think to be able to have positive conversations around that and be able to tie it back into the business needs, because you always need to have that dual, the role that the person wants to have, but also the business need has to be there. I think you need to have, I suppose, the understanding and the training to be able to support. Otherwise, you potentially could be, for a person, you could be passing an opportunity which actually could be great for your business as well. So I would say kind of focus for me is still I think we've got more to do there. It's something I'm really passionate about mentoring. It's not only do I get a kick to see someone's career move, but you always get something back when you see, you know, when you're engaging with someone. They're always, it's definitely a dual kind of dual engagement. So I would like to see more there. I'd like to see us, and part of the work we're doing with women in utilities, you know, is mentoring programs. How, you know, we joined that to allow some of our female staff to actually not just be mentored internally within GGC, but actually be mentored by women across the full industry, you know. So that's really, really important. And again, I think these things pass on. You know, if we're able to do that, and we're able to do that for some of our staff, or some of our staff will then start to do that and positively pass that on to the next generation, next team member that they go and work with. So I think it's a really positive thing.
I think that's a pod, and I think it might be a two-parter because we got into that then.